Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulihil Kareem. Today's topic is the Qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reflected in camels. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala poses a question and asks us in Surah Al-Ghashiyah, verse number 17, أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ. Do they not look at the camels, how they are created? Subhanallah. The creation of camels is not one. There are so many signs in the creation of the camels alone that any person of the slightest bit of intelligence will come to the conclusion about the majesty and the Qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looking at those signs in the camels. We know a little bit about camels, but there are so many things that we are still discovering. Their anatomy, their physiology is a subject, it's in its own right. We know that camels are called the ships of the desert. Subhanallah, a camel can survive without food and water and keep on traveling in the desert in the winter for up to 6 months and in summer up to 6 weeks. There is no other animal that has that ability. Let's start from the structure of the eyes created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the camel. Imagine being in a desert storm. We won't be able to open our eyes because we know that even if a single speck of dust particle, the sand particle, gets into our eye, and it will irritate our cornea and it will damage our cornea, we won't be able to. It will be so painful in the first instance. And secondly, that dust particle, if it keeps rubbing on the surface of the cornea, the central part of the surface of the eyeball, it would cause an abrasion, and that abrasion will lead to infection, and our eye would be lost from the infection entering the eyeball through that abrasion, through that scratch on the surface of the cornea. Camels are also given cornea. They are again similarly sensitive like a human eye, and if any abrasion or any scratch by the sand particle happens to the cornea, that cornea will get damaged like a human eye, and infection will get into the eyeball, and the camel would lose its eyesight. But subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has enabled a camel to protect itself from these sand particles by such beautiful mechanism. Number one, the camels are given, we've got one layer of eyelashes in each eyelid. Camels have two layers, two sets of eyelashes in each eyelid. And these eyelashes, they go up to 4 inches long. They're so long. And it's like a comb. When the camel sort of, they've got the ability to stop all dust particles coming into the eye. But if any dust or dust particle, sand particle comes on the surface of the eye, let's look at our anatomy. We've got two eyelids, an upper eyelid and a lower eyelid. And these eyelids keep on blinking all the time to maintain the moisture, to move the moisture on the surface of our cornea so that it doesn't get dry. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the camels not 2, but 3 eyelids. Subhanallah. There is an upper eyelid, there is a lower eyelid, and there is a third eyelid, which is called a nictitating membrane. It's a membrane, it's a thin, transparent cover, which the camel, when there is a desert storm and there is risk of the sand particles coming over the eye and damaging the cornea, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given this camel this special transparent membrane which covers its complete exposed eyeball. It moves from the inner side of the eye and just goes horizontally. The upper and lower eyelids, they move vertically. They move up and down, up and down. And this third eyelid Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to the camel, it moves sideways, horizontally from the inner part of the eye, horizontally to the outer part of the eye. And in a desert storm, it completely covers the eyeball. So the cornea is completely covered. And this layer is transparent, so the camel can still see through it. So a camel can keep on walking and keep on is able to see in a desert storm with the eyes open. Subhanallah. This is just one of the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in camel. Now, what sort of plants do we find in deserts? The plants which don't like to lose their water, and these are cacti, because there is hardly any water. So these plants, they don't have leaves like they have thorns, and the cacti, the thorns can go up to several inches long. And now these thorns obviously are they're extremely sharp, and they would act like a needle. But camels, they survive on these thorny plants in the desert, and they can chew them by the special mouth apparatus that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created for the camels and made for the camels. Subhanallah. The lips, our lips, we look at our lips, the outer part of the lip is covered by skin, and then there is this mucous membrane. And it is very delicate and soft. It gets damaged even when our toothbrush is slightly if it rubs against it, it will damage it. And the camels are provided with an inner lining of the lip, which is like leather. Subhanallah. And it is so strong that it can, with its leaves, it can sort of touch and grab the thorny cactus plants with long thorns on them and push inside the mouth. And then inside the mouth, we've got hard palate as well. The top where the tongue touches, the top there we can feel the bone and that hard palate. But that hard palate in human beings, it's covered with mucous membrane, which is delicate. In camels, subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided keratinized layer inside the mouth. Keratinized means like keratin, like nails. Nails are keratin, and the outer layer of the skin, these are keratinized cells. These are cells which are dry, and from these cells, these sort of keratin is formed, which is like nail. So inside of the mouth of the camel, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided this keratinized layer, which is like nails, and it can, the teeth, when the thorny plants are taken inside the mouth, the teeth bite these plants against this hard palate, which has got such thick keratinized surface that those thorns cannot go through them. And then these thorns, by the rotating movement inside the mouth, are turned in such a way that all those thorns, they are put in one direction. So when the camel swallows this cactus plant with long thorns on it, all the direction of the thorns is sort of in one direction. So it goes into the esophagus, into the stomach, in such a manner that these thorns are not facing in forward direction. The pointed, sharp bit is faced backwards. So they just move in one direction into the stomach without going through the lining of the esophagus, the tube that connects the mouth to the stomach. Subhanallah. I encourage you to see a camel eat some of these thorny plants, and then you'll be able to appreciate how it can easily, and again, just watching a camel eat these thorny plants is, subhanallah, makes one realize about the Qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As I mentioned earlier, that the camels, they can survive in the desert without any food or water during winter months for 6 months, and during summer in the top heat, 50 plus degrees centigrade temperature in the desert, and the camel can go on walking, carrying weight of roughly half a ton. A camel can carry up to half a ton of weight. Where does the camel get this energy from? How does the camel sort of, without water, without food, to survive for 6 months? Let's just think about it again. 6 months without food and water. Subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given this ability to the camel to survive this duration of time without food and water. Yeah? The hump of the camel stores fat. And this fat is a store of energy. So as the camel is going without food, this fat gets gradually broken down and turned into food for the camel. Subhanallah. And the water that a camel drinks, it is preserved inside his body. How do we lose water? We lose water by sweating. We lose water by breathing. We're talking about human beings. When each time we breathe, we are losing water. As we exhale air, that exhaled air is carrying water with it. Our sweat glands all over the body, they are losing water. Because our bodies are designed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed them that there is only sort of, our body temperature can only fluctuate within 1 degree centigrade. So from 36.5 to 37.5 degrees centigrade. That's our limit. If the temperature goes up, we get fever and then sort of pyrexia. If the temperature goes down, we go into hypothermia. But subhanallah, in camels, the temperature can fluctuate, subhanallah, from 34. In human beings, that would be hypothermia. We'll be sort of, we can't tolerate a body temperature like that, such low body temperature. And it can go up to 40 degrees centigrade. So the body temperature of the camel, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made in such a manner that it has a huge fluctuation from 30. We fluctuate, our body temperature fluctuates, our core body temperature from 36.5 to 37.5, just 1 degree variation. And the camels, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it such that their body core temperature can go down as much as 34 degrees centigrade and as high as 40 degrees centigrade. So they don't lose any sweat. They don't lose any water through the sweat. The other way to lose water is by urination. When we pass urine, we are losing water from our body. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created such mechanism in the body and the kidneys of the camels that it absorbs virtually all the water that is going through in the blood through the kidneys. And in those desert conditions, when the camel hasn't got water to drink, their urine becomes like a thick syrup because all the water has been absorbed back. And that is by the special design. There is a medullary part of the kidney and the cortical part of the kidney, and the ratio varies. So the kidneys of the camels, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is designed in such a way that all the water that is going through, when the filtration is taking place, that water is held back, so it is not lost. The other way we lose water is by defecation. When we pass stools, then we are losing water in our stools as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created such a mechanism in the intestines of the camel, especially the large intestine, that all the water is absorbed from the fecal matter, from the feces, before they are excreted, subhanallah, in dry conditions. So the camel feces are like the dung of the camel, is totally dry, is devoid of water, because the camel is designed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to preserve and keep all the water in it. So like cow dung, those of us who have visited India or Pakistan villages, we have seen people, they take the cow dung and sort of make a cake out of it and put it on the walls or areas to dry out. So once it's dry, it can be burnt as a fuel. Subhanallah, the camel dung is so dry as it is excreted immediately that it can be used as a source of fire straight away. It doesn't need to be dried. Another mechanism, I mentioned that we lose water by sweating. So camel, the fur, the lining of the camel is such that it preserves all the water in the body and no sweating takes place and water is preserved. As we exhale, the air coming out through our nose is carrying moisture with it, and we're losing water. In the camels, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made such a, subhanallah, amazing mechanism that one, they can close their nostrils completely. One benefit is that the sand particles don't enter their nose and when there is a sandstorm. And secondly is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided a large surface area inside the nose, inside the nostrils. The lining is such that as the camel is exhaling, it's letting air out of its lung to the outside environment. So the moisture which is in that air gets reabsorbed by the nose. So before the air goes out, it is turned totally dry and all the moisture is absorbed back by the lining of the nose. Subhanallah. We can just keep going on and on and on about the abilities of, and the other thing, sort of in the desert, the temperature can rise up to 50 degrees centigrade plus 55 degrees. And imagine the temperature of the sand at that. I don't know anyone of you has had experience of visiting a desert in summertime. You cannot put your foot on the sand in summertime. Your foot will get burnt straight away. The temperature is so high, can go up to 70 degrees centigrade. Our feet will get burnt. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided this insulating surface on the undersurface, on the feet of the camels, which prevents any burns to the foot of the camel. And then when the camel has to sit on the sand, that hot, burning sand, all the parts of the body which are going to touch that hot sand, which will, under normal circumstances, cause burns to contact burn, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided camel with thick insulating layers like callosities, and these are insulating thick layers which do not transmit any temperature and they don't get burnt. So subhanallah, the knees, the front part of the chest, all the parts of the legs and the body that are touching while the camel is sitting on this hot sand are provided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with insulating callosities, calluses, insulating thick layers. Subhanallah. And now, if you ever try walking on the sand, you'll find that the feet get sunk in the sand and it's very difficult to run. It's very difficult to move. It's very hard. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided camels with specialized feet. So their feet, they are wide. They're like two toes, and these two toes have got a web. Our fingers, our toes and fingers, we can separate them. There are they're not connected with each other. But these two toes of the camels, they are connected with a web, this leathery, thick web. So as the camel puts its foot down on the sand, the foot expands. So the surface area of the foot becomes increased, so it does not sink into the sand. Subhanallah. It does not sink. The pressure and surface area, they are related and inversely proportional. So the pressure, smaller the area, the greater the pressure. The larger the area, the less of the pressure. So by widening the feet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given wide feet which widen as they step on the sand, and there is less pressure, so the foot of the camel does not sink into the ground. And the camels can run. They can run as fast as 40 miles an hour. And they can, as I said, they can keep on walking and keep going for weeks and months, again, without food and water. Subhanallah, the time is I'll just quickly mention in Surah Al-Waqi'ah, it is mentioned about Ashabu Shimal, the people of hell, those on the left-hand side, the dwellers of the hell, that they will be given فَشَارِبُونَ عَلَيْهِ مِنَ الْحَمِيمِ فَشَارِبُونَ شُرْبَ الْهِيمِ. In hell, they will be given hot boiling water, and they will, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned, they will drink like thirsty camels. Subhanallah, a camel, subhanallah, this is the only animal which can drink up to 1/3 of its body weight in one go. So a 600 kilogram camel can drink 200 liters of water, 200 kilograms of water in few minutes time. In 3 minutes, it can gulp up all this. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that punishment. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us Jannatul Firdaus and protect us from hellfire. This, subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning, they will drink like a thirsty camel. A camel which has gone thirsty for 6 months, when it comes to the water, it can drink 200 liters, 40 gallons plus of water in few minutes time. I think we'll stop at that. The time is running out. And inshallah ta'ala, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the tawfiq, we'll maybe continue on this topic on another occasion as well. These are the signs for us to see about and reflect upon the Qudrat and praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the beauty of His creation. Allazi ahsana kulla shay'in khalaqahu. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who has created everything in the most perfect manner. And camel is a small example of those creations for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which if we reflect on them, then we'll get the marifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We'll get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and which will enable us to, inshallah ta'ala, act upon the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to the tariqah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and gain success of dunya and akhirah, inshallah ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept what's been said. Subhanakallah, bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.